man, that was too fast. So I just did a Gone in 60 Seconds on goals, and honestly, like, we have a whole section that we dedicate to this, and it's a big part of your life, because if you're going to try to do something that's incredible, you really need to make sure that you have some goals and you're aware of your goals. Some people will say, well, I don't have goals. You have goals, but your goals, like, you don't ever not have a goal. You always have a goal. You don't know that you've set a goal, a subconscious goal. So our bodies, our minds are always setting goals. Now, one of the things I wanted to spend a second on here is mental and emotional, and also social. Those goals in those areas are sometimes harder to gauge whether or not you're doing well or not doing well, and some of it comes down to a feeling. So one of the things that I want to say is, make sure you're creating an environment that allows for you to have strong, positive, mental and emotional and social space in order to stay healthy, to continue to grow. Because it's these areas that are actually so impactful on our health and wellness that we're just not aware of, that we surround ourselves with toxic people. And so, like, if it was physically toxic, that might be something that was, well, obviously toxins. There's neurotoxins, there's a bunch of other different things. Alcohol, easy toxin to look at, that people engage in having consistently in their life. Why do we do that? Do you think that they're trying to, steal life from themselves? No, that doesn't make any sense. But for them, that's a low-hanging fruit that's easier for them to grab, so that's what they'll do. Now, so that's toxin. That's a toxin in your body. That doesn't make any sense, right? But the person that aren't usually unintelligent people, so why are they doing that? All right, so the thing is, they're trying to help themselves get to an emotional or mental place to enjoy things socially. This happens all the time. It's a vicious cycle. The problem is, where we start off is, and this is definitely a challenge, we start off in a space where we don't necessarily know how to allow ourselves mentally or emotionally to get to where we want to socially without adding something else to help put us there. So, like, alcohol is going to alter your mind and emotions usually, and it does certain things. Now, obviously, when people get addicted to things, they get addicted because of the positive outcomes. They don't get addicted because they're trying to throw up afterwards, or they're going to get hospitalized or something like that. That doesn't make any sense. People don't do that. Although sometimes they'll do that for the attention, that's just not healthy. But the thing is, how can you get yourself to a mental and emotional space? By directing yourself, by taking it upon yourself to understand what causes what for you. So if you have a particular movie that you like to watch that puts you in a good space mentally and emotionally, great. Like, keep track of those things. And if you get one that's even more beneficial time-wise, it's usually music. There might be art that you like looking at. There might be a passage in a book that you like to read. There might be a poem. There might be a speech you like to hear one of your favorite speakers talk about. There might be a podcast you like to listen to. There's a bunch of different things that you can do. There could be an affirmation you like to say. You might find yourself in a particular state after a meditation or a prayer, or a number of these different things that you can do, or exercise. And it can be short. Find out what the minimum effective dosage is, and then find out what the maximum effective dosage is, because you only have so much time and energy in any particular situation, so you want to know how to optimize it. So what we're looking to do is figure out mentally, emotionally, and socially, how can we get ourselves to the point where we're feeling and experiencing joy at the level we want to. Now, there's times when people will get stuck in ruts. We're like, man, I don't like the way I feel right now. Okay, try to identify what you're feeling. If you want to, for a moment, stay in that pain and that sorrow and that place of remorse or whatever it is that you're feeling, your sadness, that's okay. But take stock, be aware of the fact that you were there and that you're not intended to stay there, right? I feel, anyway, it's my belief that we're all here to add value to this system, whatever it is, this universe. And so, because that's the point, we're all here to add value, there is something that you can do positively right now. That's the entire point. And at least that's where I come from anyway. Now, I don't see too many other spiritual practices or religions that are out there that say otherwise. So it seems like the underlying current here is to add value and to raise the consciousness. So if that's the case, how can you put yourself in the best mental state? How can you take more control of your emotional well-being? How can you create social environments that you enjoy and that foster growth and that stimulate progress and things of that nature. Now, there are some people like, oh, does everything have to be for growth or for progress? Well, everything should be kind of for joy. And because of that, yes, progress, growth. I mean, laughter is healthy. That's helpful. There's a few things that aren't really helpful that some people engage in, and it's usually like, oh, I wanted to do this, I wanted to be scared, I wanted to be shocked, I wanted to, and it's all back to kind of the 6 basic human needs that Tony Robbins talks about. Or there's a bunch of different systems out there that you can relate to. Those are the ones that make the most sense for me, the 6 basic human needs. And so, with that being said, take control actively of your mental, emotional, and social well-being. And I'm not saying to not pay attention to the other ones that I talked about too, but I'm saying that in these situations, you have to be aware of what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and what the environment, the dynamic is. Do you like it? And if you don't like it, take note of that, and then think back to a way that you used to interact that you liked, or that you used to feel, or that you were, in a great space mentally. And I'm not saying look back as live in the past, but look back to take note of, what did I do to cause that? Let me cause that situation again at minimum, or how could it get better? How could I make this better and feel better and be thinking more clearly and be experiencing a better social dynamic? And if your social dynamic is growth oriented, then it'll expand, okay? And if it's not growth oriented, then here's what happens. This is the way that the world regulates itself. When something is not positive, it doesn't expand, okay? It'll expand to the point where it can no longer expand because it's not healthy for its environment. And then the immune system attacks it and it implodes. So that's called a destructive behavior. When you have a destructive behavior and you put it in a destructive environment, then what happens is it collapses on itself. Why? To do the best that it can to contain the catastrophe. So you have to ask yourself, what in your life is worth expanding and what in your life is worth collapsing? And I guess this comes from maybe being a little extreme at times, but anything that's in the middle is really not in the middle. It's one way or another. So get control of your mind, emotion, and your social components, and recognize it's okay to go out and have fun, but there's the things that you want in your life, you're either leading towards them or pulling away from them, and they can work together, and there's a season for almost anything, but there really isn't a season for poisoning yourself. That doesn't seem like a wise decision unless you're trying to poison yourself in order to make sure that you're able to not be as adversely affected by the poison, but then eventually it ends up getting you anyway. Anyways, that's a whole nother story.